of one. Join us for an inspiring meeting where we are going to be educated and entertained by the end of our time together. Just to give us a little bit of what Toastmasters is all about. Toastmasters International is a non-profit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills through a worldwide network of clubs. And our mission in every club that you're going to visit in Toastmasters is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Specifically here at Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, the way that we fulfill this mission of Toastmasters is by helping our members become advanced speakers through in-depth evaluation, targeted education sessions, and personalized coaching. Every meeting is designed to challenge our skills, stretch our abilities, and equip us to deliver speeches with greater impact and confidence. Just before we proceed, let me share the meetings, the rules that are going to be guiding us as we proceed with our meeting. First up, let us rename ourselves using those naming conventions that have been shared on the screen. If you're a taker, put a hashtag, then your role. And if you are a visiting Toastmaster with no role, just put your club name, then your name. And if you're not a Toastmaster, write guest at the beginning of your name, then followed by your name. And this evening, we are encouraged to keep your videos on throughout the meeting if possible, especially when our speakers are delivering their speeches so that we can give them a visual feedback of how they are doing, and mute your microphone unless it is your time to speak. Engage using the emojis and chat. There is a chat master who is there to engage us and respond to any queries that we might have. Give feedback and vote when the polls are launched in the course of the meeting. And finally, enjoy, visit again, and become a member of Advanced Watabaruku Toastmasters Club. And before I proceed with the business of our meeting, I would like to introduce the exco of our club. And my name is Robert Karanja, DTM, the club president of our Tabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. And in our midst, we have the vice president education, who's Dr. Kevin Rubia, DTM. Please introduce yourself and tell us what, not who, do you love? I didn't put who so that it is democratic for everyone. What do you love?
And that's why you are president. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. I love chapatis. I can take them for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Back to you.
Amazing. I love chapatis, and I found an Ethiopian cook who makes the most amazing chapatis in Addis Ababa. I'm very lucky for that. Then we have our vice president membership, Gilbert Rutebemberwa. Gilbert, introduce yourself and tell us what do you love?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I love to run around. They call it jogging, but some people call it running around as if I've been chased. I enjoy it very much.
Thank you so much, VPM Gilbert. I do enjoy running around a bit myself. Our Vice President, Public Relations, who is not here, is Maggie Waithiru, and our Secretary Treasurer is Sarah Wanjiku. The Sergeant at Arms is Tigist Hailu, and the immediate past president of our club is Kevin Kimbio. I do not see them yet in our midst. They're going to join us in the course of this evening. And there's something I've come to love. It's called gaslight, and it's a type of meat that has been cooked in some strange butter, and it is amazing. It usually leaves me feeling rhapsodic, fills me with rhapsody. Every bite I take of that. Next time you're in Addis Ababa, ask for gaslight. And I would like to welcome our guests and those of us amongst us, those of us joining us for the first time, even if you're visiting us again. Please tell us where you are joining us from, and maybe answer that question that I've asked. What do you love? Those of us who is joining us for the first time. But if you're not comfortable asking, telling us about what you love, just tell us your name and where you're joining us from. Anybody joining us for the first time or even just a visitor? Tell us, where are you from? Winnie, Jennifer, Phoebe, Nelly, Jackie.
So, my name is Jackie Jojo. I am not necessarily a guest, I'm
Where?
actually a
You
Toastmaster.
remember? Right.
And I remember exactly. But I wanted to talk about what I like most. So, I really like cooking. So, I really like to know how this Ethiopian do this gaslighting because I've never
Mm.
heard of that before.
Oh yeah. That will be amazing. You would love it, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jackie, member of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, for joining us this evening. And the rest of us, I hope we get to know each other as the meeting progresses. Nelly says she's Nelly Chepkwony from Nairobi and she loves nature walks. That is absolutely amazing. Before I introduce the Toastmaster of the day, I would like to do a bit of club business. The minutes of our previous meeting was shared by our secretary in the club group. Are there any amendments to those minutes as they were shared? If there are no amendments, I would like to adopt the minutes of those the minutes of that meeting as they were shared, and yeah, they are now adopted by the club. We consider them adopted. Let's prepared speakers speeches just to remind us to offer visual to our members. And this evening, tonight's meeting will be by Master of the Day, who will lead us evaluations all tied together by our theme, the power of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmaster, or the years through the ups and downs, and his support is quite invaluable. And we look forward to hearing him expound this theme of the power of one. So let us and welcome the Toastmaster of the day, Alligator Makori. Over to you.
One choice, one voice, one impact. As the service and leadership manual reminds us, that is a Toastmasters manual, leadership is not about titles. It is about one act of service that inspires others to follow. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. The online experience number 129 has a theme, the power of one decision, one goal, one friend, one skill, one habit. Each has the potential to transform not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. Think of the undocumented young man in Paris, namely Mamadou Gassama, who in one daring moment climbed a building to the fourth floor, like Spider-Man, as some newspapermen and women called him later, to rescue a baby dangling from a balcony. That one selfless act of courage transformed him from someone who was living in the shadows, an anonymous immigrant, into a celebrated and newly minted French citizen. One decision changed everything. So tonight, I ask you, what's the one moment in your one life when one decision changed it for the better? And what one word captures it all best? So let's set the tone together, ladies and gentlemen, with our rallying cry, one choice, one voice, one impact. Please unmute yourself and say that. One choice, one voice, one impact.
One choice, one voice,
one impact.
Fantastic. One choice, one voice, one impact is our mantra this evening as we investigate the power of one. The time has come now to introduce the team that is going to help me along in this effort to investigate the power of one. I have with me the timer. Our timer, Stephanie Onguka, joins us from the Juja area of Nairobi. That is about 30 odd kilometers north of the city of Nairobi in a club called, I think, Juja Toastmasters. Welcome, Stephanie. She says the one moment in her life that changed her life for the better, her one life for the better, was the decision to join Toastmasters. Wow, fantastic. And in Toastmasters, she says she has learned a lot about growth, and it has given her a platform to speak and shine on the stage. Yes, in a word, it's been transformative. Welcome to introduce your role, Stephanie Onguka.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests.
Good evening.
Actually, from the Toastmasters government, I've not been the Toastmasters.
It's a little rough. So if there's anything you can do to improve it, it will be appreciated.
Okay. I think I'm audible right now. I'm very better now.
Let me double check with the SAA whether I'm the one who is having a problem. SAA, are you hearing the staccato?
Yes. Are you using any earphones?
Yes, I can hear you all clearly.
Okay, you can try not using them.
Okay.
Yes. Come again.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The timer is to check the time spent by all the users throughout the meeting, starting from the prepared speeches up to the evaluations. For the first speaker, you have 3 to 4 minutes. That means at the 3rd minute, I'll share the green screen. At 3:30, I'll share my yellow screen. At the 4th minute, I'll share the red screen. That means that is up. For the second speaker, 15 to 20 minutes. At the 15th minute, I'll use the green screen. At the 18th minute, yellow. At the 20th minute, you see the red. That means you should be winding up. For all the topic speakers and the language evaluators, you have 1 to 2 minutes. At the first minute, you will see the green screen. At 1:30, you will see the yellow screen. And means it should be winding up. For the content and delivery, each of them has 3 minutes. And then second minute, 2:30 screen, and at the 3rd minute you'll see the red screen, that means it should be winding up. As for the super grammarian, as a given report, you have 3 to 4 minutes. At the 3rd minute, you display the green screen. At the 3rd minute, 30-second yellow screen, and at the 4th minute, you see the red screen. That means it should be winding up. I will give my report, and I will send the chat towards the end of the evaluation so that everyone will know how much time they've spent during their speeches. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Timothy.
Thank you very much. And thanks for your resilience, even in the face of difficulties with technology. The next person that I would like to introduce is our super grammarian. Our super grammarian is none other than Samson Makori. I would like to confirm that Samson is in the house, and I expect him to be in the house. Yes,
I am in house. Testing, mic check. Can you hear me?
Properly. We hear you well, and even though you are not well renamed, we appreciate your being here. And his one decision is staying in Kenya. He says after 8 years in South Africa, everyone called him crazy for coming back, but he blocked out the noise, he says, and slaved through the Kenya School of Law, joined a top law firm as an intern at the ripe age of 30. 6 years later, he was made partner. 6 years on, he's running his own consultancy. Not luck, his one word is grit. Welcome, super grammarian Samson Makori.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. I must apologize for number 1, joining late, and number 2, not having my video on. We all know I'm very pedantic about having the video on, but exigencies of life have caught me as where I am. My role today as a grammarian is threefold. Number 1, to introduce the word of the day. Number 2, to look out for poor usage of the language of English, as well as reliance of crutch and filler words. And finally, to acknowledge the expertise in which we exercise the Queen's language. Number 1, our word of the day, which I have posted in the chat so that we can all acquaint ourselves. And that word is fortitude. Fortitude, which is a noun that means mental and emotional strength that enables a person to encounter danger or pain or adversity or temptation courageously. In a sentence, you could pose a question, but why does one person have the fortitude to triumph over bad conditions and other people do not? Being the rather curious character that I have, I had to throw a spin in the works, this being an advanced club. So I also posed a phrase of the day, which I would encourage people to just give an attempt to use it. And our phrase of the day today, which has also been posted in the chat, is pluck up the courage. You could also say pluck up your courage, and which means to force yourself to be brave enough to do something. So you could say, eventually, I plucked up the courage to quit my job and start my own business, which also happens to be my power of 1. I will be looking out for good use of the language. I encourage you guys to use idioms, metaphors, alliterations, and triads. And with respect to poor use of the language, I'll be looking out for improper use of the plural, improper use of tenses, improper use of conjunctions, and the sort of typical rudimentary language mistakes that we make. I trust we'll all have a good time. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much for the introduction made with mental grit, fortitude, and yes, that phrase of the day, which I will acquaint myself with so that I can use it. Now we move on to our general evaluator. Allow me to introduce the topics master That's another important role when we come to it. But our general evaluator is Toastmaster Lauranta Chepkwony. She says Viktor Frankl, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, teaches us that the space between what happens to us and how we respond sets our freedom. She chooses the word purpose. Welcome, Lauranta, to introduce your role.
Thank you, TMOD. From a distance, the world looks blue and green. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, from a distance, as sung by the singer Betta Middle, I will be observing this meeting and give you an insightful and balanced overview on how the meeting has gone. By sitting like an eagle, way above the meeting, I will be observing each and every role taker. And at the end of the meeting, when called upon, I will give a report on how I have observed on the meeting, before the meeting, which started about, the preparations that started about a few days ago, and during the meeting. Back to you, Tia Modi.
I finally found the unmute button. Thank you. A big hand clap for the GE's evaluation. Lest. No, let me not complete that statement. She will still be kind in her evaluation. We move now, ladies and gentlemen, to one of the key pillars in a Toastmasters meeting, including an advanced Toastmasters meeting such as this. And these are the prepared speeches. The prepared speeches, we have two of them this evening. And the first speaker is none other than our Vice President membership, Gilbert Rutebemberwa. To introduce Gilbert for his speech, our content evaluator number one is Mineh Maina, and Toastmaster Mineh Maina has given us one word. She has not yet told us about the one decision, unless I missed it somewhere. But her one word for this meeting today, the power of one, is relocation. And now I remember her one decision was a decision to relocate, just like our super grammarian from South Africa to Kenya. She relocated from Kenya to Rwanda, the land of, is it a million or 1,000 hills? 1,000 hills is a mille collines. Welcome to introduce speaker number one, Toastmaster Mineh Maina, DTM.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. I am elated today to be evaluating our first speaker, our VPM, Gilbert Rutebemberwa. Gilbert is giving a speech to honor an organization. His speech is under the past leadership development, level 3. It is an elective, therefore he has chosen the social speech option. His speech title will be Thank You, Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. And the purpose of this project is to practice delivering social speeches in front of your club members. Therefore, he will be appreciating the club for conducting Toastmasters meeting on a high standard. As a content evaluator, I will be looking out for speech development, which involves structure, organization, and the supporting materials he will be using. I will also be looking out for audience response, the attentiveness of the people in the experience today, their interest, their excitement or agreement created, and their reception of the humor that will be created. I will also be looking out for the speech value, that is ideas, the logic, and originality. All the best to you, Gilbert. I look forward to listening to your speech.
I have been a Toastmaster for several years, but I can say without hesitation that I have never met a club like Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. Tonight, I'm here to honor this exceptional Toastmasters Club. From the time a member is onboarded at Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, one, the member must meet the minimum requirement of having completed a second level within any Toastmasters path. This therefore emphasizes the fact that the club is interested in onboarding people that have proven that they are willing to grow as speakers, they are willing to grow as leaders, and they are committed to what they are doing. When it comes to the meetings, just a week or a few days before the meeting, the Vice President Education calls meetings, small meetings, and forms small groups to make sure that he mentors, he coaches the role takers so that they all know what their roles entail and how they will deliver these roles to make the meeting exceptional and interesting. The other thing is that this club allows members from anywhere within the district and even beyond the district, because it's an online club. So as long as you have internet, you have a potential to be a member of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. From the moment the meeting starts up to the last word, the members, the audience is engaged all the time, full time. As you may have noticed, meetings start with a word quiz just 15 minutes to the start of the main meeting, just to make sure that members, the audience, feel engaged, they loosen up and feel that they are part of this meeting. And that helps everyone feel at home and to be engaged. Throughout the meeting, there are polls, there are forms that are sent online to help members give their feedback, give their input. So it's not just about the role takers. Everyone is engaged throughout the meeting. During the meeting, I have seen something that is phenomenal. This is the triple-tiered feedback, which is delivered by our evaluators. I've not seen it anywhere. This helps the speaker to get feedback that is unbiased, that is detailed, and this feedback is followed through to make sure that at the end of the meeting, the speaker has received this feedback even in word. All this does not happen because of robots or AI. No, there is a team of leaders that are making sure that everything works at Watabaruku. And these leaders are under the leadership of our president, Robert Karanja, DTM. So members, it is in order, therefore, for me to honor Watabaruku Toastmasters Club for the exceptional meetings, for the phenomenal work they make to make the members enjoy and achieve their goals. Cheers, Watabaruku, Toastmasters.
Yes, let the congratulations go, the emojis and everything. Thank you for that great start to our prepared speeches. The next speech, yes, there is a 1-minute audience feedback before we move to the next speech. And as we do that, I will give you a quote from the Visionary Leader Manual. It says, "One vision, clearly communicated, can mobilize many." And that is the purpose of prepared speeches, to bring to the virtual podium the one idea, one story, or one message that can inspire us to grow as communicators and as leaders. Remember our tagline tonight: one choice, one voice, one impact. Just like we chose to be Toastmasters, the one choice, which I made in 2008. As Toastmasters, we speak the one voice of growth and of progress as speakers and as leaders. And one impact. Toastmasters is indeed impacting the world, and may each one of us continue to do so in our own space. We contribute to a great impact globally. Shall we proceed, SAA?
Please proceed as people continue to give their feedback.
Great. Our next speaker is none other than the club president, Robert Karanja, DTM. And to introduce Robert Karanja, let me first say that his one decision was to become an entrepreneur, and it has been a fulfilling journey for him, he says. And I'm sure that it has something to do with money. I look forward to him telling us more and making us has been impacted positively by his one decision. Wilkistar, Toastmaster Wilkistar, let me pronounce the name correctly, Mumbi. Wilkistar Mumbi will be introducing our second speaker. And Wilkistar, because I cannot trace your response, would you like to answer the one question and then you proceed to introduce our second speaker? Remember the one question? What's the one moment in your life when one decision changed it for the better, and what one word captures it all best? Over to you, Toastmaster Wilkistar Mumbi.
Thank you very much, Mr. TMOD. My one word would be movement. I decided upon this word back in 2021. My life had been at a standstill. I won't say much, but I will say the word love. So my life had been at a standstill for so long, and things were not going as nicely as I would have preferred. So I decided to make a decision to move my life, move towards all the desires I had, move towards investment, move towards my education, move in my career, and it has been very, very rewarding so far. I am still moving to date. Toastmasters was one of the decisions that came about from that word, movement. This evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I have the pleasure to introduce Robert, who, because I'm a first-time visitor of Watabaruku, I have learned is also the president of this club. Robert this evening is undertaking a project under the pathway Persuasive Influence. It's a level 4 elective project. I will be the content evaluator for Robert's speech this evening. As the content As the content evaluator, I have noted that the purpose of his project tonight is for him to learn about and to practice facilitating a question and answer session. So I will be seeing how he practices delivering an informative speech and running a well-organized question and answer session. Robert Karanja, a structure for self-expression. A structure for self-expression, Robert Karanja.
Those of us in our minutes might agree to this, but the relationship between you and the person who touches your hair, makes it or cuts it, I think is quite sacred. It is a relationship built on trust. And so you can imagine when I moved to a different country and to a different city, the first thing that I needed to do was to get someone to cut my hair. And I demurred on that decision for as long as I could, and I became quite shaggy over time. However, at some point, I couldn't resist anymore, and so I went out and found the first barber to cut my hair. And it turned out to be a lady who could only speak 3 languages. She only spoke Amharic, she spoke Oromia, a language that is spoken in some parts of Ethiopia, and Arabic. I do not speak any of those languages myself. And so I decided I was going to trust her. I pointed at my hair and sat down on the seat. That photo that you're seeing is quite deceptive because none of us was smiling. She was worried she would ruin my hair, and I was worried she would ruin it indeed. However, she ended up doing an amazing job. And as I was leaving, I didn't know how to ask her how much money I should pay her. And so I took out the notes I had in my wallet and showed them to her. And she picked out 200 birr notes from me. However, and I've stuck with her over the last over 1 year, over the last 1 and about half year. And in that time, I've seen her go through certain transformations. First of all, she was quite comfortable in that place where she was cutting hair. But because of some reasons, she had to leave. And she bounced from one shop to another for a while. However, in that period of discomfort, she ended up setting up her own shop and becoming her own boss. And that is a place I actually go right now. And when I think about it, when we first met, she was comfortable. I don't think she ever imagined that she would become a business owner at some point. Recently, I've had the opportunity to reflect on my Toastmasters journey back to 2016 when I joined SEMA Toastmasters. And I had the opportunity to think about the many icebreaker speeches that I have delivered over time. And I have realized that at some point, I lived in my comfort zone. My apologies. I lived in my comfort zone. You see, the first time I delivered an icebreaker speech, I followed the instructions to the T. You are usually provided with a speech outline that gives you details on how to structure your speech. So you start off by greeting the audience, introducing yourself, capturing the attention of the audience, introducing yourself, and then going into the body of your speech, which is made up typically of 3 points, and then there are transitions between them. Then you come to the conclusion where you review what you have said and then leave the stage with impact. That is how I structured my first speech, and I loved that systematic way, that analytical way of putting together a speech. And it did help me a lot in crafting my initial speeches. And by the time I was delivering my second icebreaker, which happened to be on pathways, I had perfected that structure that was delivered by Toastmasters International because I had expanded the 3 points of the introduction to 7 points, where I start off by capturing the attention, linking to the topic, giving evidence of why it is important, giving my own credibility, stating a thesis statement, and then previewing the whole speech. The body itself was actually broken down into more parts. Rather than just generally the main points, each main point had a sub point, and each sub point was made of 3 things: a claim, a supporting material, and then a link of that supporting material to the claim. And I enjoyed this beautiful structure that I came to learn. The first icebreaker speech, I talked about the different places I had lived in Kenya. And the second icebreaker speech, I repeated that first speech, imagining that I had grown as a Toastmaster and I wanted to see how better I was than the first time. My third icebreaker speech was about the different jobs that I had done. And I decided I would go a different direction. Still structured, but tell a story. And that is where I learned the structure of telling a story, where you set the scene, then there's an inciting incident, something that happened that pushes you in a particular direction, progressive complications, things not going well. Then you get an insight on how to solve the situation. A climax follows, then the story resolves, and then you have a lesson at the very end. I use that to talk about the first jobs that I had and the challenges that I faced. I also used that same structure of a story to deliver my fourth icebreaker speech, which was in the engaging humor path, where I talked about wanting to be like Dave Chappelle, the stand-up comedian. However, while I was reflecting on all these speeches, for the life of me, I couldn't remember what my fifth icebreaker speech was. I racked my brain and nothing could come up. And so I went to my archives, searched through my folders on my laptop, and I found my fifth icebreaker speech, which was for the effective coaching path. And it was a structural delight. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen on paper, because I had brought together that topical structure and married it with a story structure where each of the points was a mini story in itself. And you can see it right there on the screen. But there was a problem with this. I could not remember it because this is not me. At some point, the structure of the speech became the end goal for me. What I wanted was a beautiful structure for my speech. And I found that those speeches that were the best structured did not express myself as effectively as I wanted to. And that's why I had forgotten it. However, I was soon being pushed out of my comfort zone because I got elected as the program quality director. And when I went to clubs, let's do that again. When I went to Toastmasters clubs, I would be asked at the very end of the meeting to give words of wisdom. And I didn't have time to structure a speech, and so I had to come up with something. But I knew I wanted to encourage the officers. And slowly I learned all I needed to do was capture their attention, express the need that they had, and then give them a solution, and then finish off with a call to action. And that was the beautiful new structure that I learned to use, which is called the Monroe motivational sequence, where you start with an attention getter, you state a need, satisfy that need, visualize the solution, and then have action steps at the very end. And as I practiced this as a leader, going from one club to another, I found that I was expressing myself. And so when I got to my sixth icebreaker, where I talked about my challenges with fear of public speaking and how I had come to find myself as a shy person. Then I got to the seventh icebreaker when I talked about a book that I had pursued for years and I delivered it at Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters. These truly expressed the kind of person that I am, that I put them on a website called speechesbynduati.com. And that is a place where I've slowly started to collect speeches that clearly express the kind of person that I am. I got to the point where rather than the structure being an end in itself, it became a system for me for self-expression for myself. When I think back to my Baba, after all those months of us together, we've kind of become friends. And we've learned to use our gestures, our facial expressions, the little words that you can communicate with each other to get to know each other. Because right now I know about her family. I know that her son is a great runner at the 400-meter races. And when she's done cutting my hair, she asks me, "Konjo now?" Which means, is it good? And I look at myself and I say, "Betam Arif," which means it is perfect. what we learn in Toastmasters, we learn content, we learn body language, we learn how to vary our voices, we learn how to use our language. And all of these things are not end in themselves. They are tools that we acquire in order to express the kind of people that we are on the inside. And that is my encouragement to all of us this evening. Let us use these tools rather than an end to themselves, but through reflection before writing our speech, trying to understand what exactly do I want to reveal to the world. And when we use these tools effectively, we find that we craft the authentic versions of ourselves. That is, first of all, unforgettable. And second, that we are so proud of, that we are willing to share it with the world. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. I'll pause there for any questions that we might have. Feel free to pose it in the chat, or you could raise your hand, or you could simply unmute yourself and ask your question. Anybody with a question?
Robert DTM, I have a question.
Thank you so much.
I saw people wondering how you delivered 6 icebreaker speeches. Are these retakes or what? Thank you.
Sorry, are they repeats?
Repeats, yes.
Oh, no. They are, except for the first one, which I said, I repeated it the second time when I got onto Pathways in order to see how I'd grown. All of them were quite different from each other. And that is a challenge I think all of us usually have when we write speeches. For example, when you write your second icebreaker speech, you wonder, how am I going to introduce myself one more time to the people that are around me? And but over time, I've found that we have so many facets to ourselves. We have so many dimensions. We can talk about our work. We can talk about our family. We can talk about our hobbies. We can talk about the different things that have defined us over time. And by every time I write the icebreaker speech, I get to know myself even better. Let me give another example. There's a project called Understanding Your Leadership Style. I've delivered that, I think, 5 times right now. And each time it's different because every time I reflect on my own leadership style, I can see it being applied in different ways. And indeed, over time, the first time I took that assessment, I was a democratic leader. Right now, when I took the assessment recently, I found out I was both authoritarian and democratic at the same time. And so seeing those changes over time give me an opportunity to speak about myself over and over again. Thank you so much. Is there a question in the chat? Chat master, you could read it out for me.
Robert, I do have a question.
Yes.
I love the fact that you alluded to the Monroe sequence and how you reclaimed your step over this. Was this a product of your own frolic, or was this part of a mentorship process that allowed you to be able to structure your speech?
Thank you so much. At the time when I was learning how to structure speeches, I became obsessed with watching videos on YouTube, as well as I realized there are actual textbooks, huge textbooks on public speaking. And in the process of going through all that material, I happened to stumble upon that sequence. And that way of structuring a speech is particularly used when you're trying to persuade people to take a particular course of action. And so, to answer your question, this was something that came out of my own research, reading books, watching YouTube videos.
Could I do a follow-up, Robert?
Yes.
So in Toastmasters, we're always told about the value of mentorship and everything.
Right.
But I wonder, what do you think? You know, we talk about the 80-20% rules and everything.
Right.
How much do you think, based on your journey, is driven by personal motivation and desire to achieve excellence, and how much do you think is driven from club experiential learning and mentorship? And do you think that this varies based on your stage of development? So is it different at the point where you're joining, and maybe is it different at the point where you're becoming more of an experienced, and then you need to balance that ratio between those two?
Right. Absolutely. I feel that there is a variety of ways to approach the idea of how much value that you can gain from a mentor. And I like to use the example of my own wife, who used to be a member of Smart Speak Toastmaster. She was attached to a mentor in the club, and her mentor would invite her to our office, and my wife would practice her speech over and over and over as her mentor was seated there working. And from the fact that my wife ended up winning some district conferences shows that that mentor did make a huge difference in terms of the discipline she instilled into her about practicing for her speeches. But I've also seen situations where it depends on the level of commitment of the mentee, how much drive they have. And so, using the example of my wife again, if she did not have the drive to grow herself and submit and commit to whatever program the mentor was recommending, then you'll find that she wouldn't have experienced that kind of growth. And I see it with my own mentees all the time. There are those who are proactive. There are those who, even when I delay responding to them a bit, they follow me up about getting feedback on their speeches, wanting to set a time aside for us to practice together. But there are others who have a more laid back approach where they are not as driven as those who make all that time available so that they can get the best out of the mentorship experience. And so I would say it depends on the motivation of the individual. I think if there are other questions in the chat.
Yes, there are two questions.
Right.
The first is where do you get inspiration from as you prepare your speeches? And the second is what keeps you going? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The inspiration I get is from everyday interactions with people. And I think over the years, the last time I counted, around by the time I had gotten to that challenging part where my speeches were still, I was in my comfort zone. I had delivered 77 speeches at that point in time. And what that has done to me over time is it has helped me observe my own life, my own day to day, reflecting on the interactions I have with people, reflecting on the things that happen to me. And so most of the inspirations I get for my speeches are things that I experience myself. Taking the example of the barber that I was talking about in my speech. And what keeps me going, at some point, I developed a joy of writing speeches. And that is why I share them on our website with the world, because the process of thinking up the idea, the process of putting it together and then standing in front of an audience and delivering it is quite enjoyable to me. And that is the main reason that I keep writing speeches. And I hope that I'm going to deliver the final part in Toastmasters, the final part that I would like to deliver in Toastmasters, my 8th part. And I'm challenging myself to do it in fully Amharic. And it is quite exciting to imagine what I'll be able to do with that. If there are no further questions, I'll bring the question and answer session to a close. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
As we wait for the Toastmaster of the day to pluck up some courage and take over from our second speaker, let's please vote for our better speaker. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Yes, the technology did a number on me. So I'm back again. And in order to continue setting a good example, I follow the renaming convention as we have been advised. The one convention. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just gone through the prepared speeches, and this is always amazing. It's always fantastic to get that one message that has been prepared for us, as we have seen, rousing. And from the two speeches, we have, I hope, come to the conclusion that our one decision to be here this evening is for the good. There is no better place that we would be but here. So congratulations for the grit and for plucking up the courage to discard everything else and be here. And you notice through the speeches, the one pose can be more powerful than 100 words. Yes. The one well-timed gesture can make a speech unforgettable. Keep it here as we move to that part of the Toastmasters meeting when we are called upon to make the one decision to speak impromptu without prior preparation. To guide us during this particular session is a friend of a long time. I knew her when she was a single lady, Toastmaster, in Thika Toastmasters Club. And then she got married to a fellow Toastmaster. She made the one decision, Dr. Aruyaru. So now she's called Catherine Bosibori-Aruyaru. She says that her one decision, I told you technology sometimes has a way of misbehaving at the wrong time. So I'm just about to get my affairs in order. And Catherine says, the one moment that challenged her life was when she learned to draw boundaries, not walls, boundaries. It happened during her journey to emotional intelligence, when she realized that protecting her peace is not selfish, it's responsible. The one word that captures it all is boundaries. Fantastic. Welcome, Catherine, to introduce your role and take it away.
Thank you, Mr. TMOD. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. As your topics master, I will challenge you to reflect on tonight's theme, the power of one. One decision, one voice, and one moment of fortitude. Tonight, I invite you to pluck up your courage and explore how one person, perhaps even you, can shift a story, a room, or a life. I'll be calling different speakers for 1 to 2 minutes each. Let's keep our answers focused, bold, and authentic. I will begin with Gilbert Rutebemberwa. I hope he's still in the room.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Tell us about one moment in your life when you had to pluck up your courage. That single decision changed everything.
The year was 2018, and the month was February, when I threw in the towel and resigned my lucrative job in an international bank. This was not because I was tired of my job. It was not because I have issues with my supervisor. This was a strategic move because at that time, the bank was undergoing some restructuring process and they were offering packages to those who will volunteer to leave. It so happened that I had worked for this bank for 18 years. So I made some strategic calculations and figured out that it was making sense for me to throw in the towel because I had several loans. I had a mortgage, I had a personal loan, I had people around that I would borrow from once in a while. So whereas I was having a well-paid job, I was living in a highly indebted life. But I figured that if I resigned, I would get a package, clear all the loans, get my pension, because we had an internal pension scheme, and be able to live a better life thereafter. So I had this great fortitude to take that courage and quit my job, and life has never been the same since that time. Back to you.
Thank you, Gilbert. For the next speaker, I've been looking through the list of attendees. I was looking specifically for a guest because only one guest who's caught my attention. They've named themselves as guest Dean Robertson. Very interesting indeed. Dean Robertson, can you hear me? Please confirm you can hear me. Guest Dean Robertson. Great. Welcome. If one person in your life shaped who you are today, who would it be? And what power did they have?
There are several people that have impacted my life. Of course, the first person would have to be my mom. She was definitely a mama's boy growing up. I learned a lot from her, not by her teaching, but just watching her. She never spoke ill of anybody. She always believed the best in every, and I come from a divorced, family. So even when I would say things about my non-existent father, she would tell me not to, things are the way they are, and it's some things we can't change. So I learned from her how to always, I think that's where I first begin to receive my positive mental attitude. I just believe in the best. Out good. So from my mother, I learned how to just think well of others, speak well of others, even if they are doing something not good to you. But I've also learned something from someone who I never met personally, but would love to. She has since passed away, and that's Maya Angelou. She has taught about there's a we teach people how to treat us. And if you don't stand up for yourself, if you don't push back, people will try to invade that peace. So she taught me how to make sure that you keep that one part of you sacred and don't allow someone to cross that path.
Thank you so much, Dean. I'd like to call upon Robert Karanja, DTM. I know you spoke for 20 minutes, but still, are you there? Are you in the room with us?
Yes.
Great. President Robert, in leadership, does one person truly have power, or is power always collective? Please share your view.
I've always thought, especially when you look at African leaders, you think about the kind of power that they wield, the ability to influence the destinies of people. For a person to make decisions by the side of the road and change the lives of the people around them for the worst, and maybe it's a few times for the better. But most of the time, when we look all over the world, we see people who are wielding huge amounts of power. But I think through my own experience as a leader, and let me take the example of being a district leader. You see, the difference, you are removed by quite a number of layers from the member at the ground. And so it is possible for your decisions to be slowed down because someone doesn't want to send a simple message to someone else. It is easy for your decisions to be slowed down through friction in communication, where as the message is being passed along, it becomes distorted. And I think that is something that every leader experiences. And when you look at the lives of presidents who we think are quite powerful, you realize that they were at the mercy of the people that were around them, the people who could slow down their decisions, the people who could simply ignore them and until they gave up on whatever they wanted to do. And so, my opinion, maybe during the time of the Romans, it was possible for one man to wield immense amount of power. But in the time of technology, where people know as much as they do, it is not possible for one person to wield absolute power. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, President Robert. I'd now like to move to SAA Kevin Rubier. I see you. Think of a time when you showed fortitude, even when no one was watching. What drove you to stay strong?
I ask that you ask someone who may not have had an opportunity to speak, as I'm working on the polls. Thank you.
All right, no worries at all. Thank you for that. I will move to, okay. Fatma Amiyo. Can you hear me? Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, I'll ask a slightly different question. If you were the one person responsible for changing something in your workplace or community, what would you change and what is stopping you?
If there was one thing that I could change at my workplace, would be and I'm saying this because many at times when you are in the work environment, you find that everyone is just doing what they need to do. This means that the collectiveness and collaboration may be lost. We all understand that at the workplace, everyone has a very different personality. And many at times, the team spirit is the culture that is created. I serve as a facilitator, and many at times, just go there and do what you need to do or what someone needs to be picked up. And therefore, if there was one thing that I could change, was a culture of just doing things together. I think I get a lot of energy when I interact and meet and work within teams. And therefore, that's one thing that I would just infuse where we can achieve more. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, Table Topics Master.
Thank you for that powerful reflection, Fatma. Steph, do I still have time? Please confirm.
No, it's already up. There isn't much time.
Thank you. Right, back to you, TMOD, Mr. TMOD.
Fantastic, lovely, one decisions that you have made to respond to table topics. Highly appreciated. Now we want to turn to evaluations, the gift of growth. The service and leadership manual, as we respond to that poll, the service and leadership manual reminds us that one act of service is feedback given with care. And for tonight, I will also say given sharply and briefly. Make the one decision to do it in 3 minutes, no more. Evaluations are not about pointing out flaws, no. They are about offering one insight that helps the speaker to rise, to soar higher. So let's listen closely, because one suggestion tonight might be the key to unlocking our personal potential as well. Yes, remember our tagline, one choice, one voice, one impact. Did I hear someone say that? Please unmute and say with me, one choice, one voice, one impact. Let's do it in style. I'll count up to 3. Let's do it in style. Okay. So let's go 1, 2, 3.
One choice, one impact.
Thank you. We will say it again. So one perspective can change how we see ourselves. One kind word can fuel our courage to speak for years to come. We welcome now the content evaluator. We already introduced her earlier. Toastmaster Leah Minja is our content evaluator. Mineh DTM, content evaluator 1. Feedback to Toastmaster Gilbert Rutebemberwa. There is a 3-tiered evaluation. So immediately Mineh DTM finishes, she will invite Leah Minja, and Leah will invite Samson McAdoo for the language evaluation. Over to you, our distinguished evaluators. 1.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Gilbert Rutebemberwa, I would like to confirm that you actually met the purpose of your speech, which was in honor of our Watabaruku Advanced Club. On your speech, you put your ideas together and the audience could understand them as the flow was seamless. The speech was well structured. It included a clear opening where you were introducing what Watabaruku Advanced Club is about. On the body, you had the criteria of joining the club. You had the process behind the scenes before a meeting is done, the fun times we have before a meeting starts, and the value addition at Watabaruku, where we give a tripartite evaluations and audience feedback. And your conclusion had an honor to the leadership for how they lead the club. You also said cheers to Watabaruku by presenting to us an award. Your transitions were seamless. You engaged the audience attention. I am sure if there's a guest in our midst, they have already made the decision to join the club. We agree, guests? The subject was appropriate for the intended audience as it spoke to our guest, our Watabaruku TM, and a visiting Toastmaster. We could all understand your speech. What I would like to challenge you on is you may want to use more supporting materials or props for that matter, or use a visual presentation. Think of your audience as different learners. There are those ones who are kinetic, there are those ones who are visual, there are those ones who are audio. Therefore, if you would like to capture the attention of all the people in your audience, then you may need to use different materials to advance your speech. Therefore, I would like to congratulate you on taking through the speech. This is speech 1. Therefore, we look forward to you gaining more fortitude and presenting your second speech in the social speeches. Over to you, delivery evaluator.
Thank you very much, Mineh. Building up from where you have stopped in the delivery, I will focus on 3 areas. Number 1 is voice, stage presence, and facial expression. Gilbert, your delivery demonstrated several strengths from the categories I've mentioned. For the starters, is your voice. Your pitch and pace were steady. There was a distinct conviction in your vocal projection that gave your words significant weight and authority, explaining vividly why you are honoring your club, Watabaruku. Your masterful use of pauses made the speech so easy for the audience to follow, hence to understand your message. Secondly, your stage presence. You appeared exceptionally assured. With your camera well positioned, you stood with a great sense of poise. We could see your body, your torso part of your body, signaling to us audience that you are grounded and you are full in command of your message. Your use of the trophy as a prop was seamless and coherent with your purpose, expressing gratitude for the meetings conducted at Watabaruku Toastmasters Club. What do I think you need to improve so that you could make this even a better, more speech? I encourage you to refine the following. First is your vocal variety. While your projection was very strong, aim for the greater contrast. Raise your volume to accentuate your key messages and lower it when required. For instance, when you are saying you have never met a club like Watabaruku, you could have raised your voice even more to show emphasis in your message. Secondly, is your facial expression. Although your physical presence was commanding and clearly visible, your facial expressions, I felt somehow did not mirror the triumphs and delights of your club's journey. I felt that there was an opportunity for you to do this when you mentioned various milestones that your club had achieved. The part where you lifted your trophy, you could have lifted with more energy and we could see it through your facial expressions. And the last one is on your stage presence. I felt that you had a single style of keeping your hands, while you could have made some intentional movements so that your message could land more and audience could not feel disrupted. In summary, you demonstrated a commanding stage presence and excellent control of your pacing and pauses. To reach to the next level, I encourage you to focus on varying your vocal tone, emphasize and align your facial expressions with the emotional heart of your story. I would like to invite our language Evaluator Sam Makodol to take over. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you very much, Leah. I shall swiftly move into the evaluation of Gilbert's speech from a linguistic perspective. Gilbert, I think you acquitted yourself very well insofar as how you employed grammar and linguistic devices to convey your message. One of the things that I found is that you structured your sentences not in a compound sense, but in a simple sense. You're able to express your ideas in clear, concise terms without compounding them in a multiple sentence structure. It was easy to follow you. It was not long and convoluted. I was also very gratified to hear that you did not use jargon or technical language to express yourself. I think you're particularly articulate and your pronunciation is on top. So despite the fact that you might not be particularly acquainted to a certain region, it was very easy for us to listen to you. When it came to rhetorical devices, I like the use of anaphora, where you spoke about willing to give, willing to commit, willing to be challenged, right? Using that willingness as a term to introduce those notions and values that you are communicating. And of course, the power of three is a powerful instrument for which to convey a message that you're seeking to go through. That said, I think from the contents of your speech, which is a social speech, and you're looking to appreciate the club, perhaps I would suggest using more euphoric language to commemorate and celebrate the expression. You are paying homage to Watabaruku club. And Watabaruku is not just any other club, but it's an advanced club. So I was hoping to hear some more flirtatious, some more flattery language in how you exuded the excellence of this club. So for example, we're just talking about the energy of the club. I would like to hear that it's an electric, effervescent, and an ebullient club. When you're talking about the feedback that you receive from the club, sagacious, it's a kind of analytical and dissective kind of evaluation. So this really reinforces the advanced stage of this club. It reinforces how this club has elevated you to the next level. So whenever you look at language as an enabler of communication, you want language that really positions the message that you had. And I think to that extent, I'd want to encourage you to explore language for the purposes of elevating your message. All in all, you were clear, you were concise, your message was well received, and I thoroughly enjoyed your speech. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
It is not
Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. I've hangovers from the various meetings I've been attending every day. I'm sorry.
We are outnumbered. Many ladies make the one decision to grow their abilities as communicators and leaders. I'm not surprised. Thank you for the first round of three-tiered evaluation. The only evaluator that I hadn't shared her response is Leah Minja. She plucked up the courage to also give her feedback, and it is a demonstration of fortitude. She made a career change from finance to program implementation, to be a program implementation person. Wow. Her one word is pivotal. She pivoted career-wise. We move swiftly now to the feedback by the second batch of three-tiered evaluations. And to lead this is Toastmaster Wilkistar Mumbi. But before she comes, I would like to say that the delivery evaluator also gave her feedback, which I'll share with you later. So look out for it. As Wilkistar takes the stage, let's keep it short.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. What an honor it was to listen to Robert's speech this evening. I felt like I was sitting at the feet of a giant, listening to his journey through the years to developing into the DTM that we see today. My evaluation on the content of Robert's speech will be based on three aspects: the audience's response, the speech development, and the speech value. First and foremost, the audience response, I got that from how he clinched us. He clinched the audience with the introduction. Do you remember how he started his speech? By the relationship between a man's hair and the person who touches it. I thought that really clinched us and held us, kept us captive to the speech, and we're eager to hear the rest of the speech. I could see in his structure, he pointed out that he had learned that art at the very beginning of his Toastmasters journey, and he uses it to date. How effective. The second way he got us was the use of slides, and as well as the use of storytelling. So the slides could help us picture the man he was describing. Here was a man first meets a woman who does his hair, first time ever, and we could see the picture. And there are other pictures that could show the emotions he was going about at that time, the confusion, the excitement, the new appointments, and that what meant to him. So the slides could also help the audience participate in the speech delivery. The second aspect, speech development. From his introduction, we could see how he brought us down into his Toastmaster journey, how he learned the structures that were available, and how he progressed developing into more complex or better suited structures for him. So we could see the progress of the speech until eventually how he settled into his own skin speech-wise and ended up even developing his own website to tell his stories. So we could see the development all through. The speech value, this being an informative speech, or made up of people who are interested in public speaking. It was a very useful topic to deliver at such a gathering. And you could see even from the questions how the members, the audience were very, very interested in how he went about some of the challenges that they themselves are facing. The areas that I would advise, Robert, you look at is when you're talking about complex matters per se, and you're delivering an informative speech, be very careful to break down the concepts, especially for young public speakers who may be joining and listening to you the first time. They may not necessarily understand when you're talking about a structure, what aspects are you specifically addressing? And when you talk about the Monroe, you need to speak about a Monroe style. It would help to break it down further by saying Monroe style was different from what you had learned in these ways. So break down the ideas for them so that they're easy for the audience to digest. Finally, when you are looking at the example of the woman, weave it into your examples. It helps break down the concepts as well. Your speech was excellent. I learned a lot. I loved the Q&A session as well. You opened it up for the audience and you gave us enough time to ask more and to learn more from you. Thank you so much. I want to hand you over now to Fatma Amiyo, who will be evaluating on delivery.
Wilkistar? Thank you. Thank you very much, Wilkistar. Allow me to carry on with the delivery evaluation. I will use 3 areas. The first is the physical presence, the second is the platform style, and the third is the voice. GTM Roberts, I loved your physical presence. The camera was on point, your stage, and we were able to see you very well. When we are able to see you, I'm sure it is the start of the hook, especially at a time where there's just information overload. The second, very eye-catchy. I assure you there was no death by PowerPoint in there. Very good selection, photos, also the words, and I'm sure I would remember this speech for a long time. You're confident, and pretty much you're able to demonstrate great fortitude in terms of the learnings that you have had within Toastmasters. I observed very good use of nonverbal quotes. I could see your face. You demonstrated a lot of confidence in how you're looking straight into the camera. I could tell that. I believe based on the number of speeches you have delivered, this comes with time. And trust me, I now will pluck up the courage, Robert. I noticed, although you're using your gestures, I could not see complete hand movement based on your positioning. So I kindly advise once the recording is shared, just try to see one or two things that you could pick from that. The other area that I observed is from time to time, you would look up. I know non-verbally it means you're thinking and you're recollecting your thoughts. But since we understand non-verbal communication can be misunderstood, I believe it can be an hindrance when it comes to your ability to connect with the audience. All in all, that was amazing delivery, DTM Robert. I look forward to listening more to such speeches. I loved how you're able to engage, not just using your slide deck, using your voice, which was clear and there was very good projection. And I can tell that there was a lot of preparation that went in. So well done. I now hand it over to the language evaluator.
Thank you, Fatma. DTM Robert Karanja, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. Of course, it's a major challenge when you have to deliver a 15-minute speech, and then the table topics master decides that on top of that, they just have to throw you under the bus and request you to deliver another 1 to 2 minute speech. But I think you acquitted yourself well. I thoroughly enjoy listening to you. This is not going to be the first time. I think you're an articulate speaker. You are able to enunciate and pronounce your words very well. I did not hear a single instance where I could challenge your command of the English language insofar as enunciation, pronunciation is concerned, which of course is usually a challenge for us who are from this region and are affected by mother tongue in one fashion or the other. I like the broad range of vocabulary, the fact that you are not necessarily tied down by common parlance in language. You're able to use a variety of options when it comes to expressing yourself. Case in point, you talked about being demurred on hair decisions, meaning you're shy about how to make that hair decision. I like the vivid use of language when you're talking about following instructions to a T. You employ juxtaposition when you're posing the difference between progressive complication and following it through to a climax. I also like the metaphors that you used when you're talking about married structural issues with topical issues. So I think in the whole, you did employ a number of rhetorical devices that were appropriate to your speech, which I think was all about structures of expression. What are some of the areas that you could improve? I think one of the things when you're talking about, and your content evaluator is talking about how that beautiful relationship between the barber and the customer. For us men, we know this is a serious relationship. I'd have liked to see some more vivid and emotional description going towards establishing that relationship, because that really will seem to me to be the substratum of your discussion. Another area that I thought you could work on is how you are talking about, I've never seen someone go through a transformation. Again, based on the context or the topic of your speech, I think instead of talking about simple words like transformation, I want to hear words like a metamorphosis, an evaluation, right? Things that really impact and really touch to expression and usage of word. All in all, I think you did well. I just want for you to possibly think about when you're speaking on a topic, when you're looking at the message that you want to convey, try and align your choice of words. And I'm not talking about jargon, but alternative words that could really express the magnitude and the quality of the emotion that you want to attach to your speech. Well done, and I look forward to listening to you as always. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you all evaluators. We now will flight the poll for evaluators. And as we do so, I would like you to see how indeed evaluation is that catalyst for growth, making the one impact to spur us on to greater growth. Remember that evaluation is an act of service, and it's great to see it being discharged so well. Without further ado, having dispensed with the vote, or so I hope, I will encourage you all to look for this manual that will help us to continue on our journey of growth and to accelerate it. Service and leadership, as well as the manual entitled The Visionary Leader. It is the inspiration behind our theme today and the mantra of the evening. Does anyone remember what our tagline is? Please unmute and say it if you recall.
The power of one.
Thank you. The power of one is the theme. And
mantra.
Our tagline is one choice, one voice, one impact. One choice, one voice, one impact.
One choice, one voice, one impact.
And we desire to hear your voice again as the super grammarian. Today you speak 5 times. So welcome back, our super grammarian, for the final feedback on language.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alligator Makori. Must I say, I just love that names. For those of us who come from that corner of the world where vocabulary is everything and naming is everything, I feel like we need to adopt you, Alligator. That said, first and foremost, allow me to just express my apologies. It's been a bit frazzled. You can see I'm in these tight confines trying to write my notes everywhere. So my report might not be as thorough as I'd wish to, but I do undertake to send out a written report, obviously once I've had a chance to view the recording. That being said, I will delve straight into it. When it comes to the use of the word of the day, I don't know whether it was a challenge, I don't know whether it was nerves. I thought that the word of the day was probably appropriate for the occasion, but it would seem that we were a bit handicapped, so to speak, when it came to using the word of the day. But I'm grateful that when it came to the word of the day, Mr. Makori used it once, and Gilbert as well, which was very commendable, used it as well in his prepared speech. When it came to the phrase of the day, which was pluck up the courage, this was also used by our Toastmaster of the day, Makori, and our table topics master of the day. Should I have missed you by any chance or not, please forgive me. As I said, I'm in rather compromising confines today. Turning then to where we could improve in our language. I think on the whole, one of the things that I was very impressed with, I was listening out for issues, and I think you might have heard me alluding to it with the prepared speakers around pronunciation and articulation and enunciation, because I think those are really indicative of an advanced club. And to be honest, I struggled to identify a single instance of mispronunciation, poor articulation, and enunciation. And I think that is a testimony to the fact that Watabaruku is an advanced club. Sorry, I'm just trying to look. What are some of the areas that we can improve? I think we had a situation of a misplaced modifier, in this case, an adjective, where the speaker talked about a friend of a long time as opposed to a long-time friend. A speaker spoke about learning to draw boundaries. I thought that in that situation, which had an emotional context, the appropriate time would have been to learn to define boundaries, because you're trying to adapt to a situation, and so your definition was more appropriate than drawing of boundaries. We had somebody saying, go through some restructuring processes. I think some was a redundant term there. You could just go through a restructuring processes. a restructuring process. Another redundancy that we tend to use, it so happens I was working in a bank at the time. It's sufficient just to say, at the time, I was working at the bank. If you're going to use it so happens, it must connect to a concept that this was not a peradventure or something that was serendipitous. But if you're just relating to a time, space, continuum situation, then I was working at the bank at the time. So what I noticed overall, there's a lot of redundancy through my own experience as opposed to through my experience. So just be aware of that. Try and be concise in your grammar. There's a lot of good use of drama, triads. I think both our speakers were very powerful in using the power of three. Alligator, as always, is eloquent. If I was to go through the list of how you did well, you'd probably be thumping your chest like King Kong on some Chinese tower, so I will save us all that. Pronunciation, as I mentioned, was on point. Finally, my report as the R counter. We fairly did well. I struggled to find filler words. I struggled to find crutch words. I'm sorry, my good friend Robert, perhaps because it was the 15 minutes plus the 2 minutes in table topics. So I kind of caught you out with a number of filler words. I think you had about 3 or 4. And then when it came to crutch words, the one that I noticed, we all want to start our sentence with right. Right. I will ask you these questions. Right. Back to you, Toastmasters. Just delve into what you're trying to say. Overall, this is true makings of an advanced club. It was a pleasure being your grammarian today. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day. And allow me to also excuse myself. I'm on the road. I need to get back somewhere that's 2 hours drive.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, and safe drive to Thika Toastmaster, super grammarian, Samson Makaduo. The one decision we made with him was to start the Thika Toastmasters Club, and it is a great club up there. Our brief report from the timer is next. Welcome, Toastmaster Stephanie. Over to you. It appears that Stephanie has some challenges. We will then request you to give us a written submission. We move now to Toastmaster Lauranta Chepkwony, the General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters and guests. You think that your mother's cooking is the best until you visit another Toastmasters club. Today, I experienced unforgettable moments. Being my first time visiting Watabaruku Toastmasters, it is quite an advanced meeting. I have always marketed my club, Simba Toastmasters, telling members to visit because it is the most advanced Toastmasters in the East and West and Central Africa. But today, Watabaruku has done it. So fellow Toastmasters, as a general evaluator, I have the following comments about the meeting. The speakers of today, they demonstrated quite remarkable fortitude, and I enjoyed myself in the meeting. As you can see, some of the fun moments that we experienced in the club were all the roles were filled in good time. There was very good planning. The super grammarian sent the word of the day early enough for practice and for use by the members. The agenda and the word of the day was shared early enough. The speakers, again, very well prepared. Early this week, we had a dry run to help the speakers. Some of us, we were able to acquaint ourselves to Watabaruku way of doing Toastmasters, its meetings. And the dry run was very useful. It was full of attendance and it was quite quality. What I would just recommend about my suggestion is about the word of the day, which I found that it was a bit hidden I wish it could be combined in a poster together, like the visual poster for the timer, so that as the timer pops up, the timing, the yellow, instead of writing yellow, red, and green, we could probably pop it up, the word of the day, together with the poster. Now, in terms of attendees, before the meeting, that is a pre-meeting setup, the attendees were welcomed very warmly. I joined the meeting and the first thing I did was to speak in my mother tongue. Come on. Secondly, I was able to learn a few words as the Toastmaster of the day was engaging the members, killing two birds with one stone, combining testing of the mic testing and the audio together with some fun. I was able to learn a few words, like for example, I think Burunji, it's a Ugandan word. Rwandas, of course, in Rwandese. So definitely it was quite a good preparation. Then we went into game. That was the best moment. All work without play makes Joe a dull child. Now, today was quite a busy day for me, but when we had the game moment, it fired me back and I was able to get back my energy, all the smiles, and it really made my evening, and of course, the Valentine's Eve, worth it. The meeting was recorded officially at exactly 7 p.m. Very quiet and excellent. So I encourage the members to keep it up. That was quite well done. In terms of opening of the business session, we began on time. The president was able to take us through what Watabaruku is about advanced. Personally, like for example, myself, I did not know what a super grammarian is. I almost asked during the dry meeting, but I was like, oh, let me just keep it quiet and I will find out. And now today I have understood what a super grammarian is. So the members were the members and the guests were taken through what Toastmasters is about. They were guided about the renaming conventions in the chat, and even during the dry run, they emphasized about the renaming conventions. Again, the minutes of the club meeting for the previous meeting were shared, and that was quite parliamentary. Excellent job, Mr. President. EXCO, we are able to know about the EXCO of Watabaruku. Congratulations, EXCO. You're doing a great job. Congratulations. And finally, the Toastmaster of the day fired us up. He introduced the meeting, which was the power of one. We were able to chant about the one choice, one voice, one impact. And that was quite excellent. We were able to understand and to internalize the theme of the meeting. Congratulations, Toastmaster of the day. Again, about the Toastmaster of the day, you made the transitions very, very well in terms of saving time for this meeting. You're able to, at some point, you could tell one speaker to introduce the next one, and that in the end, it saved a lot of time for this meeting. Congratulations. Again, throughout the meeting, the Toastmaster of the day, you have been very energetic, very entertaining, and I will definitely come back to Watabaruku because of you. The timekeeper, of course, the Toastmaster of the day tried his best to test the voice, the audio. However, the timekeeper was a bit late, so she has experienced a bit of challenges in terms of audio. However, the Toastmaster has done it well and requested her to share it in a printed report, which still makes the same purpose. So it is very much okay. In terms of prepared speeches, the speakers were awesome. The speeches were aligned. the speakers were aligned to their project. They internalized their project. And clearly, you could see they worked with their mentors, they practiced, they internalized, and it was flowing naturally. Congratulations. So I enjoyed the speeches, and I believe the speakers were given not only the feedbacks from the evaluators, but we were also having other feedback from the audience. So all these combined, definitely it will improve on this, the speakers, and they will remain, at the end of this meeting, they will remain elevated speakers, thanks to your feedback. Thank you all for giving feedback to the speakers. Congratulations for that. In terms of the table topics, very well done. Congratulations, table topics master. You did very well. I enjoyed the session. We had table topics usually encourages us to pick on the speakers who have not made their speeches. In this meeting, we had about 25, 26 members. However, we had about 12. I noted that the table topics master picked probably the members who had roles. So Toastmasters usually recommends that we select the participants without roles. In terms of timing, it was well done. The timer, you did your job very well, timing every speaker. Congratulations. The listeners, well done. In conclusion, I can see my time has run, and the timer, you're doing very well in terms of your job. I will share the rest of the of my report in printed form. In conclusion, evaluation is also not about fault finding. It's not about listening deeply or observe. It's not about fault finding. So if you are evaluated, you got the three tier of evaluation. It's not about your fault. It is about reflecting back. And as a speaker, you get, not only as a speaker, even as a participant, you get elevated. It has improved. And before I forget, I came along with my mentee. I tagged my mentee who has a speech tomorrow at my club, which is Simba Toastmasters. And again, the evaluators and the speeches will go along, not only to elevate the speakers, but also the members and all the members who attended this meeting. With all that brief, the remainder of my report, I will forward to the club. Back to you, TMOD. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. General Evaluator Lauranta. We had a technical problem with the timer, so you have actually taken double the time allocated for it, or more. So as we close tonight's online experience, number 129, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember the power of one. One decision to speak up, one habit practiced daily, one skill mastered with care, one friend who believes in you. As the proverb says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you haven't spent the night with a mosquito. You are much larger than a mosquito. You have the power to make a difference with your one, the power of one. So go for our fellow Toastmasters. Friends, embrace the power of one, because one moment, one word, one act can change everything. Kindly unmute and say, one choice, one voice, one impact.
One choice.
One choice, one voice.
One impact. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, Ali Makori, for an amazing run meeting. It was so entertaining. It was so educational. You kept us engaged throughout the evening. Like the general evaluator said, you did an exceptional job, and hopefully more of us are going to copy your example in future. Let's put our hands together. Let us appreciate him using the emojis. And yeah, thank you so much for making this evening yeah, definitely worthwhile. one to spend together here at Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. And also thank you to all the role takers and the speakers for this evening, for giving of your time, for those, especially for those visiting us from other clubs to support our club. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And before we conclude this meeting, we would like to present the results of the polls. First up, I'll present the results of the table topics, the best table topics, drum rolls. The best table topic speaker was Gilbert Rutebemberwa. Congratulations on a great job. Second, the best evaluator, drum rolls. The best evaluator was Mineh Maina. Congratulations. And finally, the best speaker, drum rolls. It was Robert Karanja. Congratulations to myself. I would also like to recognize members of our club who have reached certain milestones. First of all, I would like to recognize Gilbert Rutebemberwa for completing level 2 of his leadership development path. Please put your hands together for Gilbert. In addition to that, I would like to welcome a new member of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club who was serving as a super grammarian for this meeting this evening, Sam Makori. Welcome to Watabaruku Advanced. I hope that you're going to grow tremendously during your time as part of this club. Those of us who would like to become members of Watabaruku, please reach out to our VPM Gilbert Rutebemberwa. At this point, I would like to give an opportunity to this VPE, Kevin Rubia, to confirm and fill the remaining roles for our next meeting.
Yes, we have.
Right. I didn't understand that. But definitely, we have it, and it's going to be amazing. The next meeting is going to be outstanding. I would like to give an opportunity to some of our guests, maybe one or two of us, to please give us their thoughts about how did you find our meeting? Did you enjoy it? Phoebe, Lillian, Jennifer, Epiphany, Caroline, please tell us how or what was your experience this evening? Very briefly. Hello, Phoebe, Lillian, Jennifer, Epiphany, Caroline.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests.
Good evening.
My name is Lillian. I am from Nairobi Bottlers Toastmasters, and I'm happy to be here today. I have learned a lot. I love the structure of feedback that Watabaruku Advanced Club gives, and I'm looking forward to joining more meetings and learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian, so much for those words. I hope, you continue to join us, and you hope you continue to grow through the interactions that we have with you and that you have with the members of our club. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Anybody else who would like to speak before I close? Very good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Big thank you to all our members, visitors, visiting Toastmasters for making time to be with us this evening. Our next meeting is going to be on the 27th of February. It's going to happen at the same time, same place, online. We hope to see every one of you. Have an amazing weekend, an amazing week ahead. Thank you so much. Have a good night. This meeting is adjourned.
Oh, great. We are still 14 who have plucked up the courage.